The stifling effect of Nolan's homophonous tone is easiest to see when it comes to Batman himself. What I mean by that is, I think they just kind of forgot that Batman is supposed to be interesting. Part of that problem, of course, lies with Christian Bale. His performance kind of feels really empty, and I think he might even agree with me a little bit there. His performance was so listless. That stupid cowl is so tight it's squeezing his face out the face hole like silly putty. It gives him these like permanently pursed lips. And that voice is so god-awful.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
But that's really only part of the problem. The rest, of course, comes from that homophonous tone. The argument I really want to make here is that everything Nolan does with this character is probably the least interesting version of that thing he could possibly have done. To understand where I'm coming from on this, you have to understand how complex a character Batman really is. So here's what I know. To accomplish his goal of avenging his parents and creating a world where no 8-year-old boy has to go through what he did, first and foremost, Bruce Wayne becomes an intellectual, and he travels the world for years to do this. He's an expert and master at basically everything. Forensics, biology, criminology, engineering, physics, chemistry, psychology and psychological warfare, business, computer science, misdirection and stage magic, escape artistry, hunting and tracking, stealth, espionage, military strategy and tactics, history, language, martial arts, mindfulness and meditation practices, expert piloting and driving. He also accomplishes all of this before the age of 30. There's absolutely nothing about that that's realistic. And as a result, it's awesome. He turned himself into this impossibly perfect peak mental and physical human ability. That's kind of terrifying. That's how he survives in a world full of gods and monsters. But that's only one of the key factors in making a good Batman. Batman has a code. Specifically, Batman has a code against using guns to kill people. You can argue back and forth all day about whether or not that's realistic, but that's not the point. Batman's code is important, not because it's realistic, but because he would be a less interesting character without it. Apart from being a deep part of his personal psychology, due to the way his parents were murdered, which, shaped him as a human being, this code places limits on him. Because of this, he has to creatively solve his way out of ridiculous situations when he could simply just pull out a gun and shoot everyone and be done with it. That's why he's such a great problem solver, more than any reasonable person ever could be. And his primary goal as Batman, after all, is to stop children from growing up with murdered parents. This is the key that makes Batman different from just some asshole with a gun. 3. Bruce Wayne is the mask that Batman wears. The man has actually become Batman. That's his true identity. Bruce Wayne is a lie and a facade. The real Bruce Wayne died in that alley right next to his parents. This emphasizes how pathologically driven he is, how hurt he is. It helps delve deeply into the psychology of this injured man, a frightening man, who's kind of the opposite of a serial killer. He's like a serial hero, because he believes that if he does kill, he'll escalate. Batman knows there's something inside of him, something that has to keep growing and becoming more real. So if you want to make a psychologically driven, realistic Batman, that's how you do it. And it's something you usually only see in crime dramas and psychological thrillers. That's the kind of awesome depth that's required to really get into this character. 4. Batman is one of the greatest fighters in the DCU. Just as he sought out ways to maximize his mental prowess, he does the same for his fighting skills. He's able to seamlessly integrate gadgets into his physical movements, mastering countless styles of martial arts and blending them into this absolutely brutal mixed martial art. But he also knows how to be elegant and restrained, agile, fast. His body is as adaptive as his mind is. But if you were to ask someone to pick the one single thing that best describes Batman, other than badass, what would it be? Because I think it would be world's greatest detective. The thing that he is specifically known for in the DC universe. So, how does Bale, or maybe more accurately Nolan's Batman, stack up? What about all that training he's supposed to have? How does Batman Begins compare when it comes to setting up this incredible character? Well, for starters, by having him do literally nothing until he's already an adult, at which point he tries to murder some gangsters, then gets the shit slapped out of him. Okay, so they're definitely taking a different route there. So what's next on Bale Man's path to heroism? Well, he slums around Europe for a while, and eventually enrolls in a ninja factory. Literally, a ninja factory. This place trains him specifically with all of the experience, knowledge, and skills he needs to become this version of Batman. Welcome to the League of Shadows, folks, your one-stop shop for all your vigilante needs. I hate this. I hate it so much. I understand why they did it this way. It saves time and it technically explains his ability to fight crime. But it's so crappy by comparison. I get that they didn't want the movie to be 75% boring training, so I would argue when you make a Batman movie, why not make the training exciting? You do it by showing what a scary badass he is, how talented he is, and how dedicated he is. All while establishing his lack of interest in social relationships or difficulty with them. And you're probably thinking, come on man, do you really want to watch a movie that was like 75% about Bruce Wayne training all over the world, and the remaining 25% showing him tackling some small-scale criminals and slowly escalating in his predatory behavior until he takes down a mob boss with his incredible detective skills and heroism? Yes! Everyone always focuses on Batman's villains because, let's face it, he's got some of the best. But people forget that Batman himself is also supposed to be awesome. I wanted to be this guy when I was a kid. I didn't want to be the Joker or Scarecrow. I'd love a movie that just gives us a deep, intimate understanding of this guy's mind. Because without it, Batman is just kind of this stoic asshole we don't really understand. But this guy never really rises above feeling like just Christian Bale wearing a Batman suit. There's just nothing special about him at all. He just happens to have enough money to afford all the gear. What about that coat of his? And he kills a bunch of people and uses some guns to do it. Yeah, okay, sure, why not? Even though in Batman Begins there's all this talk about him becoming a symbol, he never actually does it. You never feel that. This isn't Batman, it's just boring. Batman is by far the least interesting character in all three of these movies. And am I the only one who realizes what a huge problem that is? I mean, look at how quickly so many people ran to the side of Team Ben Affleck. In BVS, he's an inaccurate, irrational, psychopathic, gun-toting, murderous idiot. But at least he's interesting. At least he's exciting. Ugh, you know it's bad when I'm praising BVS. If you want to see an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about with Batman, check out the animated anthology film Gotham Knight. There's a segment in it called Working Through Pain, which was written by Brian Azzarello, who's obviously no stranger to Batman. In it, we see Bruce's social struggles, but also his talent and dedication, his skills, and his motivation all in one perfect little short film. You really get a sense for who he is. He's intense, focused, charming, fantastically bizarre. It's this thrilling, beautifully written, masterfully woven story that fits perfectly into the overall narrative of Batman. Compared to that, Nolan's Batman just doesn't feel good enough. I've long said that if we ever really see a good version of Batman, people are going to come out in droves and admit how flawed these interpretations are. It's actually kind of hard to imagine how they could have screwed it up more. Oh wait, didn't I say something about action earlier?